I am Supreme Security Director Scansellin of the Shanath Imperium, and I have been designated for termination. The trial was unexpectedly swift. In a civilization that prides itself on meticulous procedure, where the average military tribunal spans no less than 14 cycles, mine concluded in just 2. The verdict came without deliberation, announced with a clinical efficiency that would have been admirable in any other context. Perhaps I should feel honored by such expediency. The Imperium rarely wastes resources, even on the process of eliminating its failures. The execution ground stretches before me, a perfectly circular plaza of polished obsidian, surrounded by tiered seating. Every seat is filled, ranking officials, military commanders, and the elite cadre all present to witness my final moments. Public executions are rare in our society. Failure is typically addressed more discreetly. Yet High Command insisted on making an example of me. At the center stands the gallows, a barbaric human method of execution adopted by our military for its psychological impact. The symbolism is not lost on me. I am to die by a human method after being defeated by humans. Proceed, the execution overseer commands. I move forward without being prodded by the guards. This, at least, I can control. The dignity with which I face my designated end. My ceremonial armor has been stripped away, replaced with a simple white garment that marks me as condemned. My steps echo across the obsidian, each one precisely measured, perfectly spaced. Even in failure, I maintain order. The gallows looms closer. Its construction is flawless, each component precisely engineered, the trapdoor calibrated to drop at exactly the correct velocity. The rope, not synthetic cord or energy tether, but actual woven plant fiber imported at great expense from Earth itself, hangs in a perfect loop. More symbolism, more theater for the assembled elite. I ascend the 13 steps, not 12, not 14. 13, another human number chosen deliberately for its psychological associations. I position myself on the trapdoor facing the assembled dignitaries. Their expressions betray nothing. Perfect Shanath control. The execution overseer approaches with the noose. Supreme Security Director Scansellin, you have been found guilty of tactical incompetence, resulting in significant material losses and failure to secure objectives of critical strategic importance. The sentence is termination of existence. Have you any final statement? I consider the question, what could I possibly say that would matter? That our civilization's rigid adherence to calculable order might be our greatest weakness? That the humans' embrace of chaos and uncertainty gave them strength we cannot quantify? That perhaps the Texas Knights, with their ridiculous headgear and ancient weapons made new, understood something fundamental about warfare that our finest military minds could not grasp? I served the Imperium to the best of my ability, I say simply. I report my failure with regret. The overseer nods, satisfied with my appropriately measured response. He raises the noose, preparing to place it around my neck. The first explosion takes everyone by surprise. It comes from the eastern entrance to the plaza, a quantum disruption that makes the massive doors not shatter but simply forget how to be solid. They dissolve into swirling particles, revealing 3 figures silhouetted against the bright light beyond. 3 figures wearing Stetsons. Director! Commander Veneth rises from his seat among the dignitaries, rage distorting his features. You betrayed us! You summoned them! Before I can respond, energy beams lance from the security forces positioned around the plaza. They converge on the human interlopers with mathematical precision, a perfect killing field that nothing should survive, nothing conventional at least. The knights move with that now familiar impossible fluidity. Their quantum spurs flare with blue fire as they step between the energy beams, finding gaps in firing patterns that shouldn't exist. Their swords, those anachronistic weapons that somehow embody their entire philosophy of warfare, leave trails of blue disruption as they cut through the air. Security officers fall, elite guards rush forward. High-ranking officials scatter, their perfect composure shattered by the intrusion of chaos into their ordered world. "Kill the prisoner," Veneth shouts over the growing pandemonium. "Complete the sentence." The execution overseer turns to me, drawing a ceremonial energy blade from his robes, no longer concerned with symbolism or procedure, just the efficient completion of his task. He never reaches me. A quantum blade emerges through his torso as Colonel Mackenzie Clarkson steps around him, her Stetson tilted at a jaunty angle, her sword humming with barely contained energy. The overseer collapses to the ground, his expression frozen in genuine surprise, perhaps his first experience of the unpredictable. "Well now," she drawls, stepping over the overseer's body. "Fancy meeting you here, Director. Seems like you got yourself into quite a situation." I stare at her, unable to process her presence. How did you penetrate our defenses? The capital is protected by calculable, predictable security systems," she finishes for me. "Y'all really need some new material. This is getting repetitive." Around us, the battle intensifies. Unlike the knights I encountered at Echo 9-1, these other two warriors are unfamiliar to me. They move with the same impossible fluidity, but their fighting styles are distinctly different. One wields his quantum sword with brutish efficiency, cutting down elite guards with economical movements. The other moves like water, his blade never where the defenders expect it to be. "Why are you here?" I demand as Clarkson slices through my restraints with casual precision. "I am your enemy. You were robbed of the third chance I gave you," she says, her expression suddenly serious. "And I just can't have that." I remain confused. "Third chance? You said there would not be a third." "I said there wouldn't be a third chance if you attacked the station again," she corrects. "Not that you wouldn't get another chance at all. Besides, executing someone for tactical incompetence strikes me as poor sportsmanship." More security forces pour into the plaza. The two other knights adjust their positions, creating a defensive perimeter around us. They fight with coordinated precision that belies their seemingly casual demeanor. "Mackenzie," one of them calls out, a tall human with a beard visible beneath his helmet. "We're about to have company. Time to wrap this up." "On it, Swamp," she replies, then turns back to me. "Decision time, Director. You coming with us, or would you prefer to hang around?" She smirks at her own gallows humor. I look around at the chaos they've created. The perfect order of an Imperium execution ground, reduced to smoking disarray by just 3 humans with swords. 3 knights penetrating the heart of our capital, disrupting our most sacred protocols. "Why would you rescue me?" I ask. "I led forces against you. I tried to reclaim Echo 9-1. "And you also ordered a withdrawal that saved thousands of your people's lives," she counters. "That counts for something in my book." Another explosion rocks the far side of the plaza as one of the knights, the smaller, more fluid fighter, detonates some kind of quantum charge to block reinforcements. "Pocket says it's time to go," the one called Swamp shouts, dispatching another elite guard with a precise strike. The locals are getting restless. Clarkson grabs my arm with decisive strength. "Decision time's over. We're leaving." This time, I don't resist, as she pulls me off the gallows platform. We move quickly toward the eastern exit, stepping over unconscious Shanath guards and discarded weapons. The other knights fall in around us, their swords at ready, quantum spurs leaving those distinctive blue trails across the obsidian floor. "Transport's just outside the perimeter," Clarkson says as we run. "Hope you don't mind a little improvised flying. Things might get bumpy." Before I can ask what she means by improvised, we emerge from the plaza into one of the capital's main thoroughfares. A human vassal sits in the middle of the street, its engines running, surrounded by the scattered remains of what had been a security checkpoint. The ship isn't a military craft, it appears to be a modified commercial transport, the kind used for intersystem cargo runs. "All aboard," Clarkson announces, ushering me toward the open ramp. "Next stop anywhere but here." Inside, the ship is a curious mix of advanced technology and what I can only describe as deliberate disorder. Quantum computing cores sit alongside antique gauges and displays. The control interfaces are a hodgepodge of different systems that should be incompatible but somehow function together. "Strap in," Clarkson orders, as the other knights secure the entry ramp. "Takeoff's gonna be hot." I find a seat and secure the harness, watching as the knights take their positions with practiced efficiency. Despite their casual manner, they move with the coordination of elite warriors who have trained together for years. The one called Swamp slides into the pilot's seat, while Pockets takes what appears to be a weapons station. They've removed their helmets, revealing two humans who share similar features. Brothers, perhaps. Their expressions carry none of the tension one would expect from warriors who just fought their way through the heart of the Imperium capital. "Defense grid powering up," reports Pockets, his fingers dancing across the control interface. "They're trying to lock us down." "Like to see 'em try," Swamp responds, engaging the engines. "This bird's got a few tricks they ain't calculated for." The ship lurches as we rise vertically, accelerating with surprising speed for a transport vessel. Through the viewport, I watch the capital city recede below us, its perfect geometric patterns and orderly boulevards growing smaller by the second. Despite whatever countermeasures this vessel might possess, energy beams from the planetary defense batteries lance upward, searching for us. Swan pilots the ship with the same fluid unpredictability I witnessed in combat, not following any recognizable evasion pattern, but seemingly making decisions moment by moment based on intuition rather than calculation. Primary defense AI is recalibrating targeting parameters. "Then we'd best not overstay our welcome," Clarkson replies, strapping herself into a seat near mine. "Get us to the jump point, Swamp." "On it, Colonel," he replies, accelerating toward the upper atmosphere. The ship shudders as we break through the atmosphere into open space. On the tactical display, I can see Imperium patrol vessels converging on our position, their movement patterns exactly as expected. Textbook intercept formations designed to trap conventional fleeing vessels. But nothing about this ship or its crew is conventional. Swamp takes us directly toward the densest concentration of patrol vessels, a move so counterintuitive that it momentarily freezes the Imperium response. By the time they adjust, we've already slipped past their primary containment line. Hyperspace in 3. Pockets counts down. 2. 1. The stars stretch into lines as we make the jump, leaving the capital world and its perfect order behind. I feel something unfamiliar in my chest, a sensation that takes me a moment to identify. Relief. "Why did you really rescue me?" I ask again. Once we're safely in hyperspace, we've gathered in what appears to be a common area aboard the ship. The knights have fully removed their armor, revealing ordinary humans beneath. The Duncan brothers, Richard Swamp and Lenny Pockets, as they've introduced themselves, are checking their equipment at a nearby table, their quantum swords disassembled for maintenance. Clarkson has shed her outer armor as well, though she still wears the quantum spurs on her boots. The Stetson remains firmly in place. I'm beginning to suspect it's not merely ceremonial but somehow integrated into their quantum technology. "I told you already," she answers, pouring amber liquid from a glass bottle into small containers. She offers one to me. "You were robbed of your third chance. Seems Zenith made sure your trial was fast-tracked specifically to eliminate you before certain information could spread." I accept the container cautiously, sniffing its contents. The liquid has a powerful organic aroma, unlike anything in Sheneth cuisine. "What information?" "Drink first," she suggests. This conversation goes down easier with bourbon. I take a tentative sip. The sensation is extraordinary, burning yet somehow pleasant, complex flavors cascading across sensory receptors that rarely encounter such stimuli. I cough despite myself. "Good stuff, right?" Swamp grins from across the room. "From Kentucky. The real thing, not synthesized." I take another sip, more prepared this time. "You said I was denied a third chance. What did you mean?" Clarkson leans forward, her expression turning serious. "Your trial was expedited for a reason, Director, and it wasn't just because Zenith has a personal vendetta against you, though that certainly helped." "I don't understand." High Command is losing control, she says simply. The survivors from your fleet, the actual people, not the droids, they've been talking about how they were sent into an unwinnable situation, about how you saved thousands of lives by ordering a withdrawal against direct orders, about how the Texas Knights showed mercy when they could have slaughtered everyone. I stare at her, struggling to process the implications. Impossible. Such discussions would be immediately reported and suppressed. Normally, yes, Pockets interjects, not looking up from his sword maintenance. But something changed after Echo 9-1. Your people started asking questions. What kind of questions? I ask, though I'm beginning to suspect the answer. Clarkson takes a long sip of her bourbon before responding. The dangerous kind. Questions about why the Imperium does things the way it does. Why alternatives aren't considered. Why rigid adherence to protocol matters more than actual results. Small things at first, Swamp adds. Reassembling his quantum sword with practiced ease, but growing, especially among those who interacted with the station under our administration. They saw that chaos doesn't have to mean destruction, that there's a kind of order in freedom that your Imperium never allowed for. I take another sip of the bourbon, welcoming its burn as I try to absorb these revelations. You're saying there's an insurgency within the Imperium? We prefer liberation movement, Clarkson corrects. And yes? Your execution was meant to send a message, to crush this spark before it could spread. Instead, she gestures around the ship. Well, here we are. What exactly do you want from me? I ask, though I'm beginning to suspect the answer. Leadership, she says simply. Knowledge of Imperium protocols, security systems, and most importantly, insight into the Sheneth's psyche. We need someone who understands both worlds, the perfect order of the Imperium and the creative chaos of humanity. You want me to betray my civilization? I state, setting down the drink. Nope, Clarkson says, surprising me. We want you to save it. Explain. Your Imperium's rigid adherence to calculable patterns makes it vulnerable, she says, not just to human unpredictability, but to any sufficiently adaptive adversary. You've built an empire on the assumption that the universe is fundamentally orderly, that everything can be calculated, predicted, controlled. I consider her words, remembering her statement during our first encounter. War is chaos, always has been. You try to make it orderly, but that ain't its nature. That's why we're winning, because we embrace the chaos. We ride it like a wild horse. The liberation movement doesn't want to destroy the Imperium, she continues. They want to transform it, to create a civilization that balances order with adaptability, precision with creativity. And you believe I could assist with this? I ask skeptically. Pockets laughs, finally looking up from his work. Director, you're the perfect bridge. You've experienced both worlds. You've seen the strengths and weaknesses of each approach. I fall silent, contemplating the impossible choice before me. To reject their offer means what? Being returned to the Imperium for execution? Being exiled to some remote world? To accept means betraying everything I've served, yet perhaps serving it in a more meaningful way than ever before. The bourbon burns pleasantly in my throat as I consider options that would have been unthinkable just hours ago. Order and chaos, precision and improvisation, the perfect mathematics of Sheneth doctrine against the fluid unpredictability of Texas Knights with their quantum swords and ridiculous headgear. Clarkson seems to sense my internal struggle. She refills my glass without comment, giving me space to process this fundamental shift in my understanding of the universe. Take your time, Director, she says finally. Well, not too much time. We'll be rendezvousing with some friends in about 12 hours, but enough time to think about what you really want to do with this third chance you've been given. I look at the three knights, these impossible humans who resurrected ancient weapons not out of barbarism, but because they understood something fundamental about the universe that the Imperium had forgotten or ignored. And if I choose to return to the Imperium? I ask. Swamp and Pockets exchange glances. Clarkson just smiles. Then We'd respect that choice, she says. We might think it's the wrong choice, but we wouldn't stop you. That's the difference between us and your high command director. We believe in giving people actual choices, not just the illusion of them. She raises her glass in a toast. To whatever you decide. I lift my glass to meet hers, buying time while I consider options that have no clear, calculable outcome. For the first time in my existence, I find myself facing a future I cannot predict. Thank you for listening to this story. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave this video a like and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. Video shares, memberships, and super thanks help the channel grow as well, so feel free to partner with this channel in that way as we grow. With that all said, thank you again for listening to the story, and thank you for your time. On the left side of your screen are some videos I think you might be interested in. I hope to see you in the next one.